Another new trade possibility has emerged from the darkness. We talk about it and why it's actually the perfect scenario for the New York Jets on draft day. Let's get into it, baby.
Zoink. It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
And what a good message on our YouTube channel to get this party started from Dakota. Another day, another dollar, another day closer to Jets football, baby. Hey, everybody. I'm Paul Esden Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcast, baby. All things New York Jets all the time. And there is a juicy, tantalizing trade possibility that was thrown out there into the universe. An interesting trade idea between the New York Jets and the Seattle Seahawks. If you guys would like to check it out, there is an article in the YouTube description down below, and you can click and follow along for those juicy deets. And this is, I'm going to be honest, I've seen a lot of trade possibilities, and I like talking through those ideas because I think it gives us interesting things to discuss as we get to the NFL draft. And here is the trade. Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report cooked up 5 trades that could, basically turn the draft upside down, is how we described it. And it would be a trade down for the New York Jets, dropping from number 10 to number 16 and picking up a bevy of picks in the process. And here it is, okay? So the Seahawks would acquire the 10th overall pick. More on what they'd be coming up for in a second and why it is realistic and very ideal. Okay, so all the Jets would have to give up is a 10th overall pick. They'd slide back to 16. Here's what they would pick up. A 2024 third rounder, that's 76 overall. Another 2024 third rounder, that's 78th overall. Basically, the picks are almost back to back, plus a 2025 fourth. According to the NFL draft value chart, it's a slight overpay by the Seattle Seahawks. However, okay, and while it is, like I said, a slight overpay by the Seattle Seahawks here, it's within the realm of reality for the potential move up, because sometimes things happen on, draft day. And I've said this several times that, the draft value chart is more so a guideline than a hard, fast rule. Like, oh boy, well, the value guide says this. No. It basically suggests what trades could look like, the framework of the deal, but things can change. When you, another team, are moving up for something specific, like quarterback, which would be happening in this scenario, you may pay an extra tax, an extra premium, which could be kind of interesting. Phil says, do the Seahawks not have a second? Yeah, the Leonard Williams trade. They give a second and a fifth for Leonard Williams, our former Jets buddy, which goes full circle. They do not have a second, but they do have extra compensation, including, like I said, that third rounder. But anywho, again, it is a slight overpay by the Seattle Seahawks, but they would be moving up to the 10th overall pick. The Jets in the process would get a pick swap, 2/3 this year, and then a 4th next year. And of course, in this proposed scenario, Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report explains that Seattle would be moving up for their quarterback of the future, and the guy he has them taking is Michael Penix Jr., who is in Washington, and he stays over there on the West Coast. Here is the little quote from Fowler. Quote, landing in a city like Seattle is the type of atmosphere Michael Penix Jr. could thrive in quickly, Fowler added. Staying home in the Pacific Northwest wouldn't be a bad gig for the Heisman runner-up in Penix either. And this is why I think it's perfect, because if you look at the draft board, okay, you look at the draft board, all of the 3 spots after the Jets could very well be in the quarterback market in no particular order. The Minnesota Vikings, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Denver Broncos. If quarterbacks start slipping and sliding down the board, the Jets at 10 would only have to move a very short distance, and then they could pick up capital. And then the quarterback thing kind of greases the wheels, juices it up a bit, where you could pick up a little bit more. Because I think if I'm getting the proper sense on the overall fear from Jet fans, if you trade back too far in round one, you're going to miss out on a blue chip player like a top offensive tackle, perhaps, or something of that nature. So that potentially could scare off the Jets because, in theory, it doesn't make sense. If you're a win now team, why would you trade back? If you trade back, you're missing out, in theory, on better talent. Okay? So you're, in theory, missing out on better talent, which could be possible. And Shane brings up on YouTube, I feel like Penix will probably just be available at 16. Interesting point. I just heard from Daniel Jeremiah, who a former scout. He now works for the NFL Network. This is what he said on the Rich Eisen show this week. He believes that we could get a quote-unquote unprecedented run at quarterback because he believes 3 quarterbacks are going basically in the top 3 picks with Caleb Williams, Drake May, and then Jaden Daniels. And then he mentioned those 3 behind the Jets. Like I said, Vikings, Broncos, Raiders. And he mentioned other guys that are all in there in the top 10 that could be involved in the quarterback situation. He mentioned the New York Giants at 6. He mentioned the Atlanta Falcons at 8. And he said, when you have that many teams that are all thinking quarterback and there's, supply demand and you're thinking about quarterbacks that could fit, he believes that we're going to get this, again, potential quote-unquote unprecedented run, that is his words, at the quarterback position, which would move Penix and some of these, Bo Nix, some of these other guys up the board, and then all of a sudden the Jets capitalize. So yes, I understand. Penix's draft value is all over the place. We had Bruce Feldman of The Athletic say, maybe he's undrafted. And some teams say, maybe he's a first rounder. So it's all over the place. It's freaking February. It's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to all you ladies and men out there. God bless. Make sure, by the way, if I'm just informing you that Valentine's Day is today, and that's the first time that you heard of it, make sure you go out and go do something, okay? You know what I'm saying? Go out. It's never too late. Some people do the 15th thing and like things are 99% off. Hey, I don't blame you. Hey, personally, I'm a cheap bastard. Actually, not cheap, selective. I prefer that word. That word sounds better. So make sure you guys go out there. Boy Green to you. You're welcome for that. Anywho, back to you, Shane, on YouTube, that there, I believe, is a chance for a run to happen and the Jets can capitalize on the run. Long story short. Yes, Matthias says, Boy Green is a mad scientist, and I have the stuff on the wall, and I'm like, if this pick happens to here, to this pick, to there, maybe we could get something happening. So yes, I am a mad scientist when talking about this potential, but I see it. And maybe it's just because I'm crazy. That's possible, that I'm wild, and I'm losing my marbles. But if you start getting these quarterback runs, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, the 3 guys we already talked about, Daniels, May, Caleb Williams. All of a sudden, you get some movement in the quarterback position. People go crazy, and then the Jets can benefit. So I think that is a very realistic possibility. And again, the shorter distance you travel, by the way, the draft value chart combination here is the 10th overall pick is worth 1,300 points. Those combinations of the first round swap at 16, the pair of third rounders, and the fourth rounder combined are 1,470. So it's a 170-point difference of pick value there. But again, that's not a dramatic pick value swap. Plus, here's why you want to do the trade like this. Now, we had someone earlier say, well, I want a second. Here's what you could do. Those 2 third rounders are actually worth a second. Those 2 third rounders, 76 and 78 combined, are worth the value of the number 49 overall pick. So Connor Rogers, he said it on Badlands a couple weeks ago, and it's been in my brain. Work the board. You make this move from 10 to 16 to get 76 and 78. You could package 76 and 78. Booyah! Move up to 49 in the second round, or you have another third rounder. So you could package that third rounder, the other 2 third rounders go even higher in the second round to go back in there because you lost the second round pick from the Aaron Rodgers trade. Okay, so movement up, down, left, and right. Joe Douglas has never traded back in the first round, and shut up to anyone who says, but the first round pick swap, that wasn't a trade down. Shut the hell up, okay? So he's never traded down in the first round. He's traded up. He's been aggressive for players he wanted. Jermaine Johnson, Breece Hall, Elijah Vera Tucker. So he's been willing to jump up. Avatal says this, that's another quarterback. J.J. McCarthy could go top 15. I totally think he's on the board. He's very interesting to me. But again, the point is that you want to have some movement on the board. The Jets have limited assets right now, 5 picks right now, plus there's a possibility in about a month's time they get 3 additional comp picks. Those would all be 7th rounders, including Mr. Irrelevant. But we won't know that for a month. So right now it's 5, could be 8, but 8 with 3 7th rounders. So you don't really know. There's a little movement there. But if you move back, you could add more picks to the pile for the now and for the later, which wouldn't be too shabby. So a couple of thirds, that may not sound great on the surface, but you can pair those thirds to move up and make something else happen. So this is what the Jets want, because the Jets are not taking a quarterback. Now, maybe they surprised everyone to take a quarterback, as some people have speculated. We talked about that over the weekend. I think that's crazy. It's a win-now team. You need win-now pieces. I don't give a flying hoot who the quarterback is in 2026, 2027. You want to throw like a dart throw on day 3 and take a developmental guy? Fine. I'm all aboard. I'm actually advocating for that. But first round, hell no. Hell no. No, thank you. So they're not going to do it. So if you're not going to do something, you want other teams to do it. So better players slip to you. Okay. If we get that craziness with the quarterback movement, all of a sudden, Joe Alt, maybe Fashanu, Fuaga, although it seems more and more likely like he's 100% going to be on the board, but I guess nothing's ever 100% in the NFL draft. That's what I'm talking about. You get some of this craziness, all of a sudden players start to slip. So I want quarterbacks to go. I want pass rushers to go. For the love of everything that's holy, I want pass rushers to go earlier for the Jets so the good players can fall to the Jets. Wide receivers, offensive linemen, plus, of course, free agency is before the draft. But you know what? I want as many good players come to the Jets as possible so they have options to just take a guy right there and say, screw it, run up the pick, or to trade back and then say, hey, we got 5 players on the board we love. Let's trade back 4 spots. One of those guys guaranteed to be there, and booyah. That you could have. So that certainly, I would say, is on the table as well. So, again, it's maximizing the quarterback run, which would be Vikings, Broncos, and Raiders, which are all after the Jets. And that would give, by the way, Joe Douglas, as currently constructed, 4 picks inside the top 100 of this year's draft to make it happen. More picks, the better for old Joe Douglas, because there's a few holes to fill. Now, we don't know how many of them are going to be filled in free agency, of course, obviously, because you have offensive line, you have backup quarterback, wide receiver. I'd probably get 2 wide receivers. You need another tight end because you're going to move on from Uzama. You need a backup running back. I'd probably go veteran, dirt cheap veteran free agent. Just check that off the bucket list. Don't waste a draft pick on it. You already got a youngster in Brees and Izzy. Get an old man in there as far as I'm concerned, but someone who's effective, fits the scheme. So you could do that. Tight end. I mean, outside of the crazy Brock Bowers pick, which we'll do another video on Brock Bowers at some point when it fits right. I got some stuff to say about Brock Bowers, but maybe you have that surprise. Like, okay, that could happen. But wide receivers, like there's a lot of stuff you can invest in, and it's offense, baby. That is the recipe. That's how you make things happen. So this is the Jet-Seahawks trade of playing the board and getting picks and figuring out how you want to do things. So just because he trades back doesn't mean he can't trade back up. And again, just maximize the board. It's about the right friggin' now. Anywho, now I'm fired up for Valentine's Day. You're welcome, fiance, later, baby. Wink. Anywho, all right. Let's see. Let's get to some other thoughts here. NY Jets FL on our YouTube page says, I like to move down to 16, Paul. Then we could come back up into the late first or second round. Of course, which again is exactly what happened in the Jermaine Johnson draft. You came back up to 26. Breece Hall was a smaller trade up. I think it was 37 to 35. AVT was 23 to 14. So yeah, man. Yeah. Maximize the board. Do what you need to do. Get more picks gives you more options, I think. Let's see. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. If you're watching this live or later after the fact. And I love the combine. I can't wait for the combine. My old radio partner used to call it the underwear Olympics. So I always have that in my head, and people are just, in tights and everything, running all these drills. I love the friggin' combine. I love the chatter that goes around because, again, all the general managers in their central location. Robert Saleh isn't going, from what I've heard, so he won't be there. He hasn't been there ever with the Jets, but Joe Douglas is going to be there, so we're going to get some thoughts from Joe Douglas on Bryce Huff and all these other guys. Plus, there's just chatter. That's where trades are set up. That's where possibilities and signings and rumors and all that juicy stuff comes on. So, yeah, that will add another flavor. Now, I just want to go on this mini rant real quick. There's some people who hate mock drafts. Like they just don't want any part of them. For me, I freaking love mock drafts because they're scenarios that we can discuss of possibilities for the Jets. Like the people that hate mock drafts hate that we talk about a mock draft today that in a month's time will be different because of free agency, or in 3 weeks' time because of the combine, or the week of the draft because of whatever. I love that it changes and evolves with the offseason. Our needs now won't be our needs in 2 or 3 weeks, hopefully, or vice versa. So I love the combine. It's one of my favorite events. It's one of the poll events. I was supposed supposed to be there. What was that? Last year. I was going to get my plane ticket and everything. And what changed? The New York Jets called me and said they wanted me to be a part of that documentary. And I said, I got to go. This documentary, Jets Diehards, I have to be a part of this. So I canceled my trip to the Combine. I went there. And by the way, great decision. The Combine will be there every year, hopefully in Indianapolis. I know it was extended. I love the Combine. I can't wait to check that off the future bucket list. But the Jets Die Hard series was super important. That cool documentary and being inside the Jets facilities for sure. Exactly. As Nick Russo says here on YouTube, draft day trades to move for a quarterback, just throw the chart out completely. Absolutely. I will look at it just to make sure Jets got proper value so they don't get screwed. Because that's a situation when you can use the draft value, try and go, wow, man, the Jets were desperate. A lot of people accuse the Jets of being desperate with the Will McDonald pick because they took most of the time to make the pick, which would suggest potentially the Jets were trying to trade out. They couldn't find anyone and went, all right, I guess we'll take Will McDonald. But if you look at some of those trades where a team is desperate to trade out, like they're just like, ugh, we don't love what's on the board. Let's trade back and get anything. And then you see that the value is a little under, like moving to 10 to 16, I'm making this up. I don't have the value chart in front of me, but moving to 10 to 16, say it normally costs a third and the Jets took a fourth, you'd be like, wow, they were desperate to move out. But if a team overpays, you're like, wow, that other team really wanted something. And the Jets were like an offer you can't refuse kind of thing. So that's a thing I like paying attention to the value chart when we're doing some of these trades. Johnny brings up, give me Aiyuk. Oh, baby. There is a lot of stuff in the social media streets, Johnny, on YouTube, of Brandon Aiyuk being unhappy in San Francisco. We talked about this a bunch of weeks ago about the quote-unquote surprise trade that could happen. Now, this is kind of a weird, like deja vu thing, because obviously a couple years ago we had the Deebo Samuel choice, and the Jets had the 10th overall pick at the time, and the 49ers want the 10th overall pick, but the Jets said, nah, we ain't giving you the 10th overall pick. We're giving you some combination of other stuff, and then ultimately we don't get Deebo, which, by the way, I am more than happy with, because Deebo's been a bag of injuries. He's super talented, though. Give me Garrett Wilson 20 times out of 20, which, by the way, Connor Rogers was right in that moment. I kind of wanted a veteran because you knew what you had, but I love that we listened to Connor Rogers and just took Garrett Wilson, who obviously has been spectacular. He's on a rookie deal, and it's a homegrown guy. It's not some hired mercenary. But anywho, getting back to this, Johnny, on the Aiyuk rumors that are out there, let me see if I can find them real quick. We might have to do a separate video on this at some point. Let me see if I could find him real quick. The screenshots, like his family, his girlfriend or something made a joke about travel day. And oh, here it is. Okay, here you go. Brandon Aiyuk's best friend posted this on Instagram. This is the exact reason why we're leaving San Francisco. Thank you, 49ers, for drafting my brother. We're forever grateful. Why does your all-pro 1,300-yard receiver have only 3 catches in the Super Bowl? Oof. So there was a lot of his best friend, like his girlfriend or something, said, like, hey, this is our last day. Well, not our last day. Well, it could be our last day. And I was like, weird. And then he gave cryptic comments himself. Brandon Aiyuk, they said, hey, do you want to be back with the 49ers? He said, if that's the right move. And it's like, well, you're the guy deciding, is it the right move or not? So he was very kind of cagey a little bit there. The problem is, okay, let's do the good part. Aiyuk, super talented. He's clean. He's efficient. He just makes plays. The 49ers thing, like all of that makes sense. The problem is the price is going to be exorbitant. You got to pay him a big deal and give up a pick. So that's where we get a little spicy. Now, for Aaron Rodgers, you want to get him a legit dude. Aiyuk would certainly do that. I'd be curious on price. Knowing price would be an important piece of this puzzle, because you don't have a second. So, like, man, and you need the offensive line or wide receiver, but Aiyuk would give you the wide receiver. I don't know. A lot of things to figure out there, but he is intriguing, obviously. So there's a lot of hoopla. Something to keep in mind. Again, I told you guys the surprise trades could happen. Surprise trades. Avatar says Aiyuk is not coming here. Jets, unless the Jets give him a ridiculous extension, give me a number 2 receiver and follow your lead and go O-line heavy. I don't mind that strategy at all. That's kind of where I'm leading. Jordan Travis, that was mentioned by Connor Hughes as a possibility. JJ McCarthy would be fun because obviously I'm a Rich Eisen fan, so I'm getting the Michigan stuff all the time, but he may go in the first round, and if he does, obviously the Jets would not have they would not have that as an option. James on our Facebook page, please no, stay away from quarterbacks. Jets have not had a good quarterback in the draft. Well, yeah, well, if you count Joe Namath, I guess, in the AFL days, but still, to the point, just because the Jets haven't had success at quarterback doesn't mean they should never try to draft one ever again. Again, I think a late day, you should draft a guy. And again, I'm saying late day 3. I'm not saying the first round, not saying the second round. They don't even have a second round pick. I'm not saying that. Although, if a guy tickles your fancy in one of those, late day 2 or maybe early day 3, maybe you can talk me into it. But I just think it'd be super beneficial to have a guy learning from Aaron Rodgers at the beginning of their rookie contracts. I think that could only help a young man being around Aaron Rodgers. So I don't mind the dart throw. There's been enough dart throws at other weird positions. Why not quarterback late in the draft? So we'll see. Let's see. William here on YouTube. I believe the Jets could still get an offensive tackle if they moved down to 18 or 19. They could get their guy plus a second rounder and the 2 third-rounders. Juicy. I love Juicy William. There's no doubt about it for sure. The only problem is, who's that guy? Is it Tyler Guyton? Is that who we're talking about? Is Fuaga still on the board potentially with that? If you could get one of those guys, plug in who those both look like right tackles at the NFL level. You plug in both of those guys. Okay. I think we're cooking here, baby. That's very possible. NY Jets FL said it was a feeding frenzy last night at the market for gifts on Valentine's Day. Thank God I ordered mine in advance. I'm a good boy. That's what I did for Valentine's Day. But hey, different strokes, different folks. Johnny says, make sure I make sweet, passionate love to my wife today. Yes, sir, Boy Green. Just neither of you scream Boy Green. That's my only request. But you enjoy, kiddos. I love that. That's phenomenal. I am learning. Yes, very much so. I appreciate that. I would take McCarthy if we need a quarterback. Again, if he falls, I'd be interested. Dakota says, this is what the Jets quarterback room should look like. Aaron Rodgers, Jacoby Brissett, Jordan Travis, or J.J. McCarthy. Oh, that would be amazing. Sign me up right now, Dakota. I absolutely love that on our YouTube page. That is a great thought. Absolutely. Yes, I would sign up for that right now. Phil says, hopefully another team offers a second round pick. I love the beginning of the second round where there's some really good talent that slipped. The problem is with this is to get there. So the early second round means teams that are at the top of the draft. So like you'd have to have a very unique scenario. I can pull up the draft value chart real quick. Let me see who's at the top of the second round here. Let me see. We got Carolina, New England, Arizona, Washington, Chargers, Tennessee, Giants. So basically the top of the real draft. I was just seeing if there's any real traded picks, and the only traded one is the one the Jets gave up to the Packers, which was 41, which would be a weird slice of irony if somehow they got that pick back. That would be kind of funny. But yeah. So it would have to be a unique scenario, I guess, that ventured into the second round range. As I discussed on a previous episode, the draft value chart suggests that 18th is where the Jets could get a straight up second round pick for trading back, but that's a big fall. And then also that fall is like the 48th or 49th overall pick. Let me double check real quick on where that Cincinnati pick is. That would be 49th. So I was right. So it would be the 49th overall pick. So that's not really quote unquote early in the first round. It's like mid, but I mean, if you want a second, that could get us there for sure. Let's go here. I love the Jets to get Fuaga, Powers Johnson, Patrick Paul, their wide receiver. Woohoo! Okay, yeah, build that line, baby. Build that wall. Shadow Realm says, got to get one of those guards around 3 or 4. Yeah, there's a lot of really, really good ones. A lot of really, really good ones in the mid-rounds. Big Daddy on YouTube says it's LT, LT, LT. Yeah, that's why I personally like Fashanu, because you get him. Booyah. Left tackle is so important, especially for Aaron friggin' Rodgers, baby. Get the blind side locked up. That'd be interesting. Alex says trade up from 10. I mean, I love Marvin Harrison Jr., but that would probably be fiscally irresponsible to do such matters. But I love that guy. Oh yeah, that would be phenomenal. Absolutely. Or Joe Alt maybe, but again, they just don't have a lot of extra capital. So you'd have to get pretty creative, like a Bryce Huff or something, and you'd have to tag him for that to even be possible to even move up. So no, I don't think you move up from 10. There's a possibility if you move back from 10 to like 16, 19, whatever, that you get extra capital, and you could use that extra capital to move back up, like they did for Jermaine Johnson or something like that. That's possible, but up from 10, probably unlikely. But good question, Alex, on Facebook. Let's see. Yes, Huff can only be traded in a tag and trade scenario, which we're going to get to tag time in about 10 days or so. So that's coming up where they have to make that decision. And then they'll have like a 2-week window. Like by March 5th, I think the franchise tag window closes. So you'll have to have made a decision by then. And we will know a few weeks ahead of free agency whether or not he's hitting the open market. My gut says he does, which is unfortunate because I would tag and trade him for sure. Ron asks on YouTube, hey, Paul, what type of offensive lineman will be on the board at 16? We're talking Tyler Guyton. We're talking Jackson Powers. We're talking about Fuaga potentially. He could be on the board. Patrick Pauls, J.C. Latham's. Like, those are the kind of guys we're talking about there. And Fatno, the inside interior player. That's another possibility, depending on, again, where's ABT playing? I suggest guard, but some people want to put him at tackle. So tackle, guard, tackle, guard, tackle. I don't know, but those are some of the guys who would be available. A lot of different paths to go, depending on what you do there. Matthias, would you rather have 3 good starters out of this draft or a bunch of picks? So that's a fine line of making sure you don't trade back too much, and then all of a sudden you just have a bunch of picks, which could be bust, as we've seen in the past. And yes, there's a lot of veteran receivers. I heard Dakota say Ridley, Pittman Jr., whoever. Give me receivers, baby. Johnny says, every round we go, we must take offensive line. I love it. Yes. If the Jets take a quarterback, they will not do so into the 4th round. Matthias, I hope you are right, because I would not like to see it. And that will wrap it up. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for this wonderful Jets-Seahawks trade proposal package. Whether you watch live or after the fact, make sure you check out the article down below and check out the juicy deets and why I think this is the perfect scenario for the Jets because of the potential quarterback run. Make sure on the way out, you guys like the video. Hit subscribe down below. Show your support for the gosh darn show, baby. We'd appreciate you if you guys can hook us up and do that. Happy Valentine's Day to all you out there, the moms out there, the wives, husbands, all you people, all you beautiful people. Happy Valentine's Day. And again, if you didn't get anything, you better get your ass moving, pal. It's already like 8 o'clock live as we're doing this. You need to go out and get your stuff done or convince your significant other that it's better on Valentine's Day after, where you get all the stuff. You get double the stuff, half price. That could be an option, but you got to have the right guy or right gal to be accepting of such measures. But either way, Valentine's Day, give you your warning. Make sure you appreciate it, people. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow on Boy Green Daily. We actually have Jake Asman dropping by. Give us some Vegas juicy deets. Talk to a bunch of people. I'm looking forward to catching up with Jake Asman and talking all kinds of wonderful things. The new jerseys. Some of that should be fun. Plus, we'll have a big, massive Twitter space tonight at the Jet Lounge. Shout out to those guys. There's supposed to be Rich Samini, Connor Hughes, former players, everything. It's supposed to be happening late tonight. And hopefully that's after all my Valentine's Day festivities are finished. So I should be there as long as those are done. And I'm looking forward to that. Should be a lot of fun for all you Twitter people out in the universe. God bless. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks for supporting the show. We love you guys. We'll see you again soon. Take care.